Hi, I'm Dr. Dan Ratner. Today I am joined by Fred Amir, a mind-body pain sufferer who recovered from multiple symptoms over a 25-month excruciating period of suffering, and is now the author and creator of the 9-step rapid recovery plan from disabling pain, and a related program for back and neck pain. If you haven't already, click subscribe, ring the bell for notifications, hit like if you like what you're hearing, and put your comments below and we'll get back to you personally. And finally, you can reserve your place in one of my seminars or purchase any of my mind-body guides, also known as the PDFs, at www.crushingdoubt.org. Now, without further ado, here's my conversation with Fred Amir. Fred, I am thrilled to have you on. You are a fellow mind-body pain sufferer reliever, and you've brought a lot of people relief. And so I'm really excited to hear about your story. Why don't we start with you telling me what it is you've been through? Where did it all begin for you?
Well, Dan, first I want to thank you for all the work you're doing on behalf of the TMS community, because the interviews you're doing, the people you're talking to, especially the pioneers in TMS, like Dr. Feinblatt and Dr. Sherman, and it's just wonderful to hear their stories, how it started, what were the challenges, and hear it firsthand. This is just like, I wish Dr. Sarno was here. You got to interview with him, but in his absence, this is a great resource for all of us. Wonderful. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Fred. I do appreciate that.
So mine started, I woke up from a nap and I had this annoying back pain. I'm like, oh, where did this come from? You always think of something you did a few days before, a few weeks before. And then over the following 25 months, that developed into neck pain, shoulder pain. I had pain and numbness in both legs, sciatica in both legs. I had knee pain, foot pain, and I also had pain and numbness in both arms and hands. Wow. When you wake up in the middle of the night, you can't feel your hands. Very scary.
Yes.
I even had eye pain.
Wow.
And with all the medication I'd taken, I had gastritis. So even eating was difficult, because every time I ate, my stomach hurt.
Mm-hmm. Right.
And yeah, go ahead.
Well, I was just going to say, you're capturing something that I think so many of the pain sufferers do say and experience, that we have symptoms all over the place. I don't have any chronic symptoms anymore, but I do have a lot of acute stuff that pops up. I'm curious what you're like with that.
You want it now? You want it later?
I want it now. I want to know. Yeah, right. I want to know what it's like for you right now, and then we'll jump back to
for
how it
me,
was before. Yeah,
fantastic, wonderful. It's extremely rare to have any kind of TMS symptom. I mean, the work that I did initially when it happened, I went at this thing full force.
Mm-hmm.
I went full force. Now, things happen in life. I mean, Dr. Sarno mentioned times when he had TMS symptoms. He went on a trip with his wife and was having stomach issues, couldn't figure out what was going on. We're all human. We're going to experience this. One time, my mother-in-law had a stroke. She was in a hospital. And within 3 weeks, my mom was in the hospital in Southern California. I'm in Northern California, to go there, be with her, with my mother-in-law. After 3 weeks, I woke up one morning.
Yep, right.
Pain, and I knew it.
Right. So we all get these acute symptoms. We're human beings.
Yes.
But you first had these chronic symptoms, and how long did they last before you discovered Sarno?
About 25 months. And about 5 months of that, I was totally disabled. I was just like basically lying down almost all the time. Wow. There's not much else I could do. It was pretty bad.
Yeah. And what was your mindset like? I mean, obviously it's not going to be good, but what in specific, what was that like? Did you have suicidal ideation? Did you feel that your life was ruined?
I took a class in psychology my first year of college. Now, when this happened, I was about 30 years old, and I was going through this TMS experience, and I had 2 toddlers. And, when I was about 17, 18 when I took that course in college. And the class in psychology really helped me understand myself, the subconscious mind, conditioned response. It helped me learn how to set goals, achieve goals, and really get a larger view of life instead of being, I was a teenager with a low self-esteem, low self-confidence. And as a result of all the things I've learned, all the changes I made, getting rid of my limiting beliefs, having a positive, optimistic outlook on life. When I was going through this, there were times when it was very difficult, but the whole time I was thinking, you know what? When you read these stories of great discoverers, great inventors, they've all gone through certain periods where life was very difficult.
Mm-hmm.
And once they made it through that, it would be a time when they really made a great discovery.
Mm-hmm.
So for my mindset was that for most of the process. There were times when I was very sad, when my toddlers came to hug me and I had to say, I'm in too much pain, I can't even hug you.
Mm-hmm.
That hurt.
Yeah.
That really.
How old are your kids now, Fred?
They are now 34 and 32.
Okay, so this is a while back now, because you've been doing this
This is 28 years ago. Yes.
Right. You've been doing this for what, 25 years of getting people relief? Is that right?
Since 1993.
Okay.
I mean, once I discovered TMS and once I developed my recovery plan that worked for me very well, I was just out there helping people. Just
so
as many as I could.
Let's talk about that, Fred, because as you know from watching some of what I do, I have really developed my own plan. Mm-hmm. I took the information of Sarno. I'm indebted to him for life. He saved my life. But there were certain things I needed to get better in the way that I needed to, and that's part of where my system has come from. How did you start to develop yours?
So just to give you a little background, what happened. When I had all this pain that I mentioned earlier, and I was going from one doctor to another, one thing I noticed is when I was in the waiting rooms, when I was at physical therapy or pool therapy, people that I saw were in their 20s, 30s, 40s. And I'm like, why young people get this? I mean, you think if you get very old, you have aches and pains, but why young people get it?
Right.
I wondered, why do you sleep? You wake up with neck pain or back pain or sciatica. I slept, I woke up, my right leg was numb. I thought I had a stroke, and I'm like, what is this? So for a while, sleeping seemed the most dangerous thing you could do.
Yeah.
And then all the stuff they were telling me, for example, they were saying, you need to bend a certain way, or don't bend actually, use your legs, all these other stuff they were telling us to do. In addition to that, they were saying you have to make those muscles strong. If your back muscles are strong, the pain will go away. Well, it wasn't going away. And I didn't know how strong do we need to be? Do we need to be like Arnold, not to have any pain? So these questions, when I asked the doctors, the surgeons, the physical therapists, you know what the answer was? Yeah, that's not right.
Yes, right.
Yeah. So that's when I started doing my research. And when I found what Dr. Sarno was teaching, which was initially like not me, as you can imagine, but I decided to look into it. I realized that it answers all those questions. I know when you're trying to crush doubt, and these questions that nobody could answer, he answered, it crushed my doubt about TMS. The only person that answered why you sleep, you wake up to pain.
Yeah. Right.
Why young people? I'm sorry, go ahead.
Well, I was just going to say, you are, as I looked into it, I was like, wow, Fred saw this in a way more similar to me than probably anyone I know, because you and I did the same thing. These questions that we couldn't get answered really gnawed at us, and if I couldn't make sense of any answers, I was like, what kind of theory is this? And I love the way you did that, and I think it's a key variable to why you got better and also why you help other people. But I can totally hear myself in you. I went to doctors and I was shocked that they would look at me and think, this is weird. And I was like, it can't be that weird. I mean, there's all of these pain sufferers out there. This is what you do for a living. How is this weird to you? And then that idea of how strong do we need to be? It kind of makes me laugh now, right? It's funny, isn't it? Here's another way I thought about it. I was like, well, how come I need to strengthen my stomach muscles to help my back? Why is it not the other way around? What's the logic in it? So you did a beautiful job applying logic. I just wondered, is that something that just comes naturally to you? Is that how you generally think about things?
Yeah, I try to be methodical in my approach to things, understanding, correct diagnosis have to cure. That's what I was looking after, looking for. What's the diagnosis here? What's the correct one? All the stuff they were telling me just didn't make sense.
Right.
But again, Dr. Sarno, if you look at this, majority of people, national survey has shown between ages 25 and 49 are the people who get back pain.
Right.
Now, what happens between age 25 and 49?
It's
For most people.
the responsibility years is when you have kids usually.
Yes. Yes, you get married, you have kids, you got to, all adds up. By the time they leave the house and go to college around 50, things start to, calm down a little bit. So that made sense from what Dr. Sarno was teaching. So all of it came together. But once I got that doubts about TMS, now I had to deal with the fears and doubts of how I get rid of all this pain. And the way I did it methodically was I said, I'm going to go about this very, very carefully because, there was a lot of what's wrong with my body. So one thing I did, I closed my eyes. I imagined blood flowing into my arms. And I noticed, just imagining that, the pain became less, but my muscles start twitching. They're like going to spasm. And I'm like, I showed it to my wife. I said, look, my arm muscles are twitching. And then that's one of the things that helped me make the mind-body connection right there.
Right.
The second thing I did to crush my doubts about getting over it physically, I sat down. I said, okay, whether it's tension or condition response, I'm going to sit down. I'm not going to fear this pain anymore. It's just reduction of blood flow. That's all it is. I'm going to see what happens. So usually when I sat down, first the pain in my right side, the sciatica would start. And then it would start getting worse and worse. About 15 minutes or so later, it'd be just intolerable. I mean, if I didn't move around, if I didn't get up, it would be horrible. This time I said, I'm not going to worry becoming, paralyzed with both legs. I'm just going to sit here because now I'm going to test if it's reduction of blood flow or not.
Mm-hmm.
I sat, I didn't move. The pain got worse. It got worse and moved into my tailbone. Burning pain. We're not just talking about pain. The kind of pain that if I got before, I would lie down, I would ice it, I'd take some medication just to calm it down. I sat down, burning pain. I said, bring it on. It's okay. It's just reduction of blood flow. Then he moved to the front of my knee. And I'm like, the sciatica pain was gone. The tailbone pain was gone. The knee started hurting. I'm like, it's a charade. All it is, it's a charade. It's moving around. And then it moved from my knee to the front of my neck. I had pain here, never here. I said, okay, Dr. Sarno's right. My confidence started going up, crush that doubt. I'm not going to worry about this pain at all. By then I had sat for almost an hour and a half. This was months and months I had not been able to sit in one place for an hour and a half. It was amazing. It was amazing. So at that point, what I did is use the same techniques Olympic athletes use for peak performance and develop a rapid recovery plan. And the way it works is very logical. Step one, you need to fight back tension because that tension is there, causes the pain. Step two, you want to fight back condition response. Now, to fight back this tension, which is intense, strong, negative emotions. Can you name for me, Dan, some intense, strong, positive emotions?
You mean just within myself or just the...
yourself or just what comes to your mind? Something you say, that's a strong, positive emotion.
Love, feeling that you're a master of something, feeling that you have a deep connection to someone, feeling understood. I mean, I can go on and on and on, but...
Okay. What I was looking for, those are good. Excitement, enthusiasm, love, joy, but very intensely to the point where you get goosebumps.
Yeah. Euphoria.
You get goosebumps just thinking about it because what is a goosebump? Goosebump is an emotion that affects your body.
Oh yeah, I get goosebumps more often than not. I get goosebumps when I'm listening to a song that I love.
Mm-hmm.
That is just bringing out that feeling of elation.
Yeah. So for me, when I was going through that time trying to recover, it was rocky training songs, music. Da da da. So in my...
Did you actually listen to that?
Oh yeah,
that's great.
That's great. Yeah, yeah. I got it. There's one called Rocky Training Montage. If you watch that one, I'll tell you. Anytime before I go to work out at the gym or something, I'll put that on. I get pumped up, man. It's great. It's
That's
great.
great.
So what I was doing to create a lot of positive emotion and push back tension in my head, I was boxing with TMS. I was fighting the pain. Now all of this was happening when I was lying down in pain, but I was giving myself goosebumps. I was fighting in my head. In my head, I was playing Rocky. I'm Rocky. I'm fighting the pain. The more energy, the more excitement, the more enthusiasm, the more powerful I felt and created those feelings, my pain got less and less. So that was step one. Step two, creating or fighting the condition response. And that happens with, how can I say, the easiest way is we all know about what Pavlov did with the dogs. Show them the steak, ring the bell. After a while, you ring the bell and the mouth starts to salivate them, But if you keep ringing the bell and you don't give the meat, they stop salivating after a while. Mm-hmm. So if you keep pushing the pain and don't give into it, which is the reward, because that's what your brain wants, say, give into the pain, let the pain control you. You say, I'm not going to let the pain control me. So I said, short-term goals, sit more, walk more, stand more, bend more, do more stuff. And long-term goals like carry my children. Take something that's exciting and challenging, like karate lessons. So then I had short-term goals, long-term goals. I was creating all this excitement in my head with being Rocky and fighting. And if things worked out, guess what I was going to do? I was going to have me a Haagen-Dazs ice cream bar. Yeah, it's all part of the process. More enjoyment, self-care, balance it. So when I started to do that, within 24 hours, I was at the mall shopping. My right leg used to lock up, didn't lock up anymore. No problem. In 48 hours, the same knee that used to hurt and the sciatica and the foot pain that barely could take me up 2 steps, I went up 17 steps. In 2 weeks, I carried both my children, which I was planning to do in 4 weeks, but I was making progress so fast. And in 4 weeks, I started karate lessons. When I took karate lessons, it hurt. Hurt elbow here, hurt there, but I knew it was all conditioned response. The more I did it, then it went away. Mm-hmm. But there's more. My hay fever of 17 years, gone. My gastritis, before, even if I looked at orange juice, my stomach used to hurt, completely gone. Uh-huh. When I went later on for my physical, my heart murmur was gone. And I used to wear reading glasses for 14 years. I went for a regular eye exam, and the ophthalmologist looked and said, you don't need glasses. I said, what? I can't read with that. I get headaches. He said, no, you don't need glasses. And then I did more research, found out about work of Dr. William Bates from New York, by the way, who had discovered tension causes your eyes not to see well. Yep. He'd done a lot of work. There's base exercise. So it was a complete transformation of my health.
Wow.
And I put in my mind, because sometimes I think people leave a little door open, like where it's a little pain is okay. Right. I said, I want the body that I had before TMS, no pain.
Yeah, I just want to observe a couple things, and then I'll let you continue with explaining your program. But so one is that I think your story is an illustration of the fact that happiness, being truly happy and excited and all that stuff, is the antidote to pain. And you can't fake that, but it's just good to know that. And then another thing is, and we'll need to talk about this more, there's something about the way that you were able to work with yourself where you could combat fear or not get lost in it so much and really be determined. I tell people you have to be very determined to beat TMS. And I love what you said. If you're okay with if you're only okay with getting 99% better, or if you're okay with settling for that, you're actually leaving the door wide open to a lot of other stuff. So when I talk about crushing down, I'm talking about get it to zero.
Yeah.
And that's where I'm at with it. So keep going with how this unfolded then from there.
Yeah. So I I had this plan, I followed it, worked great. And then I started talking to people that I knew. I started teaching it. I started doing seminars, and I knew this is going to be great. So eventually, I wrote this Rapid Recovery from Back and Neck Pain, and that was in 1999. And since then, I had readers from Australia, New Zealand, Canada, United States, all over the world who read it, who followed the plan. And I think one of the things that happened when I studied what Dr. Sarno was teaching as far as his protocol for recovery, it was kind of vague. It was like, give yourself 4 to 6 weeks, keep telling yourself the pain is harmless, become active, don't fear the pain. I was like, can I get some more specific steps? You know, and that's what I was looking for myself, and that's how the plan came to be. So one of the things I tell people is one of the best ways to build your confidence, have a plan where you're going with your recovery. If you're going day by day, then something goes wrong, and it's absolutely normal for your body to react and go like, okay, actually your subconscious mind says, you're going too fast. And if you don't have a plan, you don't keep a log of where you are. Like 6 weeks through my recovery, I was taking my kids, I've taken them to swimming, I've taken them to the park, we're at the park, they're playing. I'm like, oh my God, is it all fake? Is it all going to fall apart? Because I had it for 25 months and it's been like 6 weeks. And then I went in my head, I looked at my log, I went through it, I said, okay, all of this was planned, all of this happened, built my confidence, crushed my doubts, and then I moved forward more. And that's natural. Even initially when you start, you know what happens? Okay, so Dan, let me tell you, have you ever tried to give up something you really like, something that's bad for you, like a snack, maybe too much sugar or something? You said, I'm not going to have that anymore. What happens generally to people when they try to do that?
Well, usually I think they want it even more.
Even more.
Yeah.
Craving comes in. So you have this conditioned response, this habit of having pain. And now it's beginning to go away. And part of you says, I want it back. I really want it back. And that's why sometimes you may get real bad pain, because that's the craving for that attention he was getting before.
Right. And that's the craving to have that loop, even though you don't like it. It's an interesting way of putting it. Yep.
No, consciously you don't want it. And it will try. It will try not to let it go. But when you give yourself some ice cream or something pleasurable, you try to soothe that part of you and anchor it, make that neural association in your brain between, okay, no pain, ice cream, no pain, hot bath, no pain, earrings, whatever it is. It starts to create that connection, positive connection with no pain is better than pain.
Well, you're also highlighting something really important here, which is you can't take away something and not replace it with something.
Exactly.
You know, and I do find that getting better in the kind of crushing doubt method does involve giving yourself something. Actually, my power column is very much about giving things to yourself. It is and you know what? There's a way in which it came from this New Year's resolution that I once made. I was really just feeling really bad for a long time. And I decided, it's the only New Year's resolution I ever made, and I have just kind of renewed it every year. What I decided is I was like, I'm going to give myself something that I like, that I wouldn't have given myself otherwise, every single day this year. It could be small, it could be big, it could be, and it played it out in many different ways. Somebody invited me to go to the Super Bowl, and I had a work week that wouldn't allow it, and I was like, nope, I'm going to do it. Or it could be like, I want to order some sushi. Normally, I wouldn't do that. I would just make something that I have here. Or it could be, I'm going to talk to that pretty girl. This is when I was single. There were lots of things that you can give yourself. And I think that's part of what you're saying, is you have to be giving to yourself to get better.
Yeah. In fact, the first part of the recovery plan, what I call rapid recovery outcomes, long-term goals, things you look forward to. Actually, I just finished a series of videos, rapid recovery plan videos. If audience want to go to fredamir.com, they can watch it there. But what it is when you have things to look forward to, instead of being stuck in the routine, it makes a huge difference. Things that you're excited about, that you really want to do. It doesn't have to be anything, a trip to Hawaii or around the world. It's just, as you said, taking out, getting some sushi, getting something that tells you, You change your routine, but also helps you feel like you're taking care of yourself. And so many of my clients or people I've talked to in our audiences in my seminar, they say, I haven't had anything to look forward to for a very long time.
Yeah, and sometimes they don't even realize it.
No.
I mean, when I made that New Year's resolution, I didn't totally realize how self-deprivating I had been being.
Mm-hmm.
And I do think that's where a lot of these pain symptoms can come from, is we're denying ourselves the right to be ourselves, to stand in our own corner, to go for what we want, maybe to do things differently than other people. And I'm just really fascinated, though, hearing your story, because it is literally the most similar story to my recovery in a certain way.
Right.
I mean, you dove into developing your own system even faster than I did, and you did develop it, beautifully. But it's still, you and I had the same mindset about it, which is it has to make sense. I'm going to keep going after it. I'm going to start to give myself things. I'm going to challenge things that don't make sense. And I also there's another thing that you said that I thought was really important, and that is that, and it's one of the reasons I have this podcast and my system, is that if you do not have a plan, then you're really awash in it. I mean, how are you not supposed to be overwhelmed if you don't even know where you stand in the process? It sounded like that's part of what you were getting at with that.
Yeah, very important. That's why I see people who just go at it. They get the concept, but they don't want to spend the time to. But what did it say? If you fail to plan, you plan to fail.
Right.
If you don't have any plan, you're saying, well, today you get excited. You get really excited at first. Day or two, no pain. Oh, this is great. The pain comes back. Oh, that's it. It's not working. Well, if you don't have a plan, you can get all excitement and push back the tension, but conditioned response can come back, and then you have pain.
Yeah, actually, I mean, I've gotten people better initially from pain. And it used to baffle me because it's so not the way I think. I got them better from pain, and then it would come back and they'd get despondent. And I understand that on the one hand, but from a logical standpoint, I kept thinking, but if we got you better before, that meaning is still there. So what's happening here? And one of the things that I realized, it's similar to this idea of having a plan. There has to be determination, willpower. I love this image of you with the Rocky training montage, because it's so in line with how I was about these things.
Well, that's what I recommend people to do. I tell them, look, either keep watching the videos that motivate you, that create a lot of positive emotions, not just one time, not just one day, not just once a day. Do it as many times as you need to. Because part of the thing that I teach is you actually make yourself bigger and stronger, and imagining yourself to be like Rocky, or a lot of people like superheroes. I'm the Wonder Woman or Batman. Really don't be yourself, okay? Be somebody else who's strong and powerful in your head at least, and walk tall if you can, walk strong as you can, as much as you can physically do. That tells your subconscious that, oh, this guy is not like this. Oh, I'm poor, I'm dying, I'm old. No, he's going like, oh my God, and he's not giving up. And she's not giving up. Keeps going at it, because it's testing you to see if you will give up. It's testing you to see if you're going to give in to the pain. So that's very important, because number one, you don't want to fear the pain. These are the three biggest mistakes I've seen. You don't want to fear the pain. As long as you fear the pain, get frustrated by it, you have to see it as exploring a new thing. When it comes, go like, okay, why this pain is here now? I must be upset about something. Something's going on. Oh, okay, come here. And there are times when you have to fight the pain. When I was recovering, I used to hit myself. I go, oh, come on, I'm not afraid of this pain. I'm going to give you a bigger pain than this.
Right, I'll show you.
Sorry, go ahead.
It's like, you're like, I'll show you what pain is. Come on, that's real pain.
I'll show you. Yeah, I had a client, actually his story is in the book. He had he was in two major car accidents. For 11 years, he was in chronic pain all over his body, constantly with the chiropractic doctor, nothing was working. So I got him on the plan. He was he was in sales, so he was very a motivated guy, self-directed. I put the plan together for him. He started getting well really, really fast, which just amazingly. But then the pain and numbness in his hand wasn't going away. In fact, his hand used to turn blue. We're talking reduction of blood flow. And he said, what do? I said, you know what? Tell it you're going to take a needle, don't hurt yourself, and show it to your hand and say, you know what? If this doesn't go away, I'm going to hurt you with a needle. And that was scary enough for his subconscious to let it go, and he recovered.
Wow. I mean, that fits with something else that I've thought about, because, the term crushing doubt in part comes from the fact that I see it as something where we have to assert our willpower and do battle with the symptoms in a way.
Right.
And, I like to see it as an adversary that I'm going to thrash. It has no chance against me. Right. And I say this to people sometimes who are going to be working with me or have been working with me. Mm-hmm. Their symptoms get afraid of me. You know what I mean? You'll know this more than almost anybody. You know what I mean? But it's like I sit down with them and their symptoms start like shrinking, and like they might try to get like, okay, can I just have a little knee itch? And I'm like, no, can't even have that. We really go after it.
Yeah. I mean, it's good. It's good if you have the luxury of the time to focus on it. I tell people, set aside the week. You don't have to stop working or being a parent or anything. But in your mind, keep working on it 24/7 for a week or two. Just keep drilling into it. Immerse yourself in your recovery. Don't do it part-time, halfway, and say, oh, no, this is not working. Let me just take more pills. And and some people say, I don't have the willpower. Well, what I tell them is, if the reasons for your recovery are strong enough, the willpower will come.
Well said.
If your reason is to get on a flight to Mexico for vacation, and that's really excites you, if it is playing with your children and lifting him and throwing him up in the air and make sure you catching him, well, that's excitement. That gives you the drive to do it. But if it's like, well, I just want to go for a short walk. What's the number one outcome people tell me they want to have?
Say it again.
What's the number one outcome people tell me they want to have?
Oh, okay. Yeah.
You know what it is?
Probably to just never have pain again and not worry.
Exactly. They say be pain-free. And I tell them, does pain-free put images of excitement in your head? I mean, it's nice to be pain-free, but pick things that are exciting, you're enthusiastic about. You know what happens when you are going on vacation that you're excited about? You're up before the alarm clock. Mm-hmm. You wake up with energy. Totally different than the day where you have to see clients or you're going to work or your routine. Totally different. That's if you learn to create that, and because a little bit of work, if you've never done it before, I think if you've been in like a sports team where you have to create that, because, for example, if you're an Olympic athlete, you can't win a competition going there depressed. Mm-hmm. You can't win a competition going there saying, God, I had this argument with my spouse, I can't do it today. Or my dad hit me when I was like 5 years old, So what happens is you got to go in preparing your mind, train your mind to be strong, get rid of all those negative thoughts. And once you do that, which is not that hard, as I explained in the book and the videos, you can do it. Just got to train it constantly.
Well, and I think you're hitting on another key point, which is to make something happen, you have to dream it first.
Yes.
Being pain-free is not a dream. That's a wish to just escape. Mm-hmm. It's okay to want that, and it makes sense that anyone would want that. But you want to dream. You want to dream bigger than that, about things that really matter to you. So actually, that made me wonder something, because this podcast and the book that I'm writing. You said you're an accidental author, which I love that term. I'm pretty purposeful in a way, although I can see what you mean about accidental, because it came from this pain experience. But I'm curious what it was like. When did you find me and what I was doing, and what was it like for you?
Oh, I was on TMS Wiki, which is a great resource, and someone posted your interview with Arlene Feinblatt. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And I saw that. I said, wow, finally I met her. That's who she is. You read about them, but Yeah. So that was great. That was a great interview, and that's how I just sent you a thank you note, and you said you want to talk to me. So that's how that came about.
Yeah, so I'm curious, though, because I feel like we have a lot of overlap. I mean, even in this interview, you've been nice enough to actually say crushing doubt as if it's part of how you think about things. But I think it is. I think we have a lot of overlap. So I wondered, do you see the similarities in the way that we're working?
Of
I don't know
course.
how well you know my work, so that's a different question.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I know the four columns that you go through. I haven't studied it deeply yet, but
And
I like
you're
that.
not obligated to.
Yeah, but I like that client you talked to was in Vegas. I was saying he went to Vegas, he had all the pain. He left Vegas, pain went away. He said, "Well,
Right.
what happens in Vegas stays in Vegas."
Exactly. That was pretty. I mean, that joke just wrote itself.
Yeah,
I think, though, I mean, for me, the the fact that fear and doubt can rule the day is so important, and I think that what you're offering to people is similar to my power column, I think, but it's got a very joyous side to it, and I like that, and I'm curious, how have people responded to your recovery plan? What feedback have you gotten?
well, if you go to fredamir.com testimonial section, or even Amazon reviews, you can see people who've read it, who recovered rapidly. Elsa Howard of New Zealand, she was in a wheelchair. She was so disabled with pain, and she started following it. And I think that's the good thing is it gives you steps to follow. So you go, okay, I'm going to do this. Oh, and I do this. And then you build your confidence little by little. All I say is steady, consistent progress. Don't do anything too fast. Don't do anything crazy. Just step by step every day. I'm going to sit a little more, walk a little more. Because let's say you are able to sit a minute more every day. And after, maybe after a week, you can sit 7 more extra minutes. So now you were sitting 5 minutes in the beginning, and now you're sitting 12 minutes. If after 8 minutes you get this sharp pain, it's just TMS. You say, I already sat 12 minutes with no pain. Now I'm getting this pain. Is it TMS? Is it a conditioned response? You say, you know what? I'm not fearing it anymore. I'm not in doubt if I hurt myself because I already did more than that and I was fine.
Right.
So that helps to build their confidence. There's some aspect of it some people find a little strange, like you're lucky and you're fighting, and I say, you know what? Try it. Christopher Abraham of Toronto, Canada, he thought this stuff was crazy. He said, well, how would this even work? But whenever he did it, he's had less pain, he had more energy, and he recovered from 7 years of RSI in his arms and hands. So some of it may be new to some people. Some of it they require a little bit of practice, and some of it could just come naturally. Everybody's different. But the fact is that it is possible, even if you don't recover very quickly, give yourself an extra week. It's okay. Because most people who have this kind of pain, they've had it for a long time. It's okay, a few more days. Right. No rush. Don't get in a rush. Don't criticize yourself. Don't have to be perfectionist. But keep moving in that direction, and you see results.
Yeah, I mean, I think we'll finish up on this, but I think the idea that it is kind of step by step. I mean, you might have a bad day in there or whatever, but you build on your successes.
Right.
And this is where I think logic is so important. If you stay logical, then you know that the successes mean something. It's illogical to think they don't mean anything. And so when we lose hope, we're really falling into illogic. That's the way I think about it. Does that make sense to you?
Yeah, and I tell people, you can change your self-critic into your self-coach.
Yep.
Don't let it criticize you constantly, negative thoughts. My new book, Vanquish Stress, is about how to turn that internal critic, that internal conversation, those constant negative thoughts and worries. I have a questionnaire on my website called TMS Questionnaire, where I've wrote down, basically I put in there what I've seen with TMSers, which worry is way up there. Self-criticism, negative thoughts about themselves constantly, about the world. I mean, once you change these internal sources of tension, it makes a huge difference. Mm-hmm. And as you were saying, if you develop that positive mindset, that, makes a huge difference in how you see yourself and the world, that helps a lot not to have so much pain and be much happier.
Beautifully said, Fred. And I just want to thank you again for coming on to talk with me. It's a great pleasure because I think sometimes in this field, we're all kind of in silos. We're not meeting as much. That's very different since I started this podcast, but I didn't even know you were out there. And then I discovered you were out there and I'm like, how do I not know about this guy? So it's a great thing for us to connect. I know you're doing great work, and I thank you for the work you're doing too. And I'm so glad that you're out there with me on this.
Well, thank you again on behalf of the MS community, and please keep doing what you're doing. It's helping a lot of people.
You too, Fred. What a pleasure to talk to Fred for multiple reasons, but the thing that really jumped out at me is the energy that he brings to things. Very positive energy. I loved hearing him talk about watching Rocky videos and things like that, because I really have employed some similar things to that. But the main overlap we have is that we stick to logic very, very closely. And to me, that's what got him the answers. He asked the questions when things were not logical, and it led him to his own system. So he's incorporated things in a similar way to me, and it was a pleasure connecting with him, and I look forward to some future endeavors with him as well. If you haven't already, click subscribe, ring the bell for notifications, hit like if you like what you're hearing, and put your comments below, and we'll get back to you personally.